No, you're not. You're being paused.
You do have a quorum.
Excellent. Okay. Good morning and good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for coming to the meeting. It's Tuesday, July 28th. I'd like to open the Salem-Keizer Area Transportation Study Group. First thing up is approval of PC minutes from June 30th, 2026. What area there?
Well, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, I will move the approval of the minutes from the June 23rd, 2026 meeting.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, it's moved to second. Any others? Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of approval of the minutes from June 23rd, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any nays? Hearing none, motion passes.
Just wait, now
Yes.
get back now. Kyle, you said you were not here? Correct.
No, Mayor Clark was here.
Oh, it is.
There it is.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. The alternate.
Okay, now time for public comment. Anybody like to address the board? One more time, anybody have anything to speak to the board about? Okay, and I do have something here. Item F, I would like to pull item F from the agenda. I think that is something that we need more information on before we start discussing this any further. We have not heard from Salem where they stand on this. I am waiting to hear from my board. We were all been on vacations. We're discussing it next week. So I'd like to just kind of keep that out. Any objections or? Yes.
I object to the polling of item F. I think we should keep it on the agenda so that we can't have a discussion about questions that you've raised about where Salem where Salem comes out on the position and where Salem wants to move forward on the motion. And then I think on the agenda item itself, it says that the policy committee as a whole can discuss what does next steps look like. So I don't necessarily think tabling or pulling the agenda item is the right course of action. I think we should keep it on the agenda so we can talk about it and then discuss as a group what to do. So I understand your concerns about not having information, wanting to discuss it, but I think keeping it on the agenda would allow us to do that.
Okay.
Sure.
Yeah.
Chair, if I could just add something. We have a whole PowerPoint and I have handouts of information. The intent of the agenda item was really two things. One, to bring members who weren't around in 24 and up to speed about federal law and how MPO structures are built. And then to kind of set the stage for the next steps, as Councilor Vang said. How do we want to handle next steps? It's not to make any kind of decisions or debate the issue so much. It's more like setting the table for more focused discussions.
And then I would like to add some information to that if we can pull them up during our discussions then. So that's fine. It's just, it's not enough information there for all of us to make really intentional decisions today. If it's just informational, I have no issues with it. But there's a lot more information I think that has been omitted from this one that a lot of you without history were not aware of in past discussions and options. And that's where I was concerned. So, okay, so we'll leave option F on the.
Mr. Chair, we'll have an opportunity to fill those blanks in. Is that today? To bring up if there's missing pieces in the presentation?
You're welcome to mention things. I think my intention is this is not a long item on this agenda.
Right.
And I want to create space in a future month to have like maybe an hour or more of a focused work session where we can go over all the possibilities facing us. This is just the stage of how they want to do, when are we gonna set those, et cetera.
And that's what, we have a lot of options already on the table, and none were mentioned or you weren't aware of. Yes.
I'd also like to add, to back my objection, even though we've already agreed not to, I just want to make comment is that this is something that since I've been on this board committee, I don't know what commissioners call it, this has been a dominating topic. And the times that it has come up, it's been stalled or delayed or something's not been here. Of all those natural occurrences that have happened, I don't see any reason in intentionally taking it off of discussion when we're here and ready to.
Okay. Let's move on to federal performance measures overview. Ray Jackson.
All right. So this will be a 2-month discussion on federal transportation measures. So this month, I'm just going to give you an overview of the performance measures since most of you were not here 4 years or 8 years ago when we last discussed these. And we'll talk about them in 4 years from now. And next month, we'll talk about the targets that need to be set or agreed to regarding
Sorry.
regarding each of the measures. So as background, performance measures came from the Move Ahead for Progress in 21st Century Service Transportation Act that was adopted and put into law in 2012. This defined a set of national goals for the operations on the interstate and national highway system. It also directed Federal Highway Administration, Federal Transit Administration to define a set of performance measures to track progress by the DOTs, the MPOs, and the transit districts in meeting these goals. It also introduced the performance-based planning requirements that we follow when we're developing our long-range plan and our TIP. Subsequent Surface Transportation Acts, FAST Act in 2015 and IIJ in 2021 continued these requirements, and they'll likely still be in the next transportation bill, whatever that's called. So there are 5 categories of performance measures. Roughly 3 of them are under roadway, and 2 are under safety transit. So we'll go through each of these. Come back to that slide. So roadway safety, there are 5 performance measures. These are tracking the number and rate of serious injuries and fatalities on all roads. And this is unique in the performance measures. This covers all roads, not just the interstate and the national highway system. It also tracks set targets for the number of fatalities and serious injuries for non-motorized users. These targets are set yearly by ODOT. The PC in the past has agreed to support ODOT's targets for these. We had our presentation on the Transportation Safety Action Plan last month, which included, if you read towards the back of the draft, there were the targets for 2027 that will be set by ODOT. We'll show these numbers again next month. Actually, all targets will be shown next month and how we did or how the results are from the last 4 years. The second set of performance measures under roadway are essentially state of good repair. These cover first the pavement condition, both on the interstate and on the non-interstate national highway system. So this would be the principal arterials, River Road North, Commercial South, Lancaster, etc. Kugler and Corden, Silverton. And they're tracking whether setting targets for either percent of pavements that are in good or poor condition. ODOT goes through every couple of years and measures pavements throughout the state and uses the ranking system to get them good, fair, and poor. So for this target, for this performance measures, we're setting targets every 4 years for 2 years out and 4 years out. So the performance reporting period is 4 years, starts 2026 and runs through December 31st, 2029. And we'll have a midpoint in 2027. I'm doing the math right. Bridge condition, this is for the bridges on the national highway system. It only applies to the bridge deck, not the superstructure or the substructure. And it's percent of NHS bridges classified as either good or poor. And again, ODOT goes out or the consultants go out and evaluate the bridges every couple of years. And system performance and roadway, we have first the set that are under reliability. So this is percent of person miles traveled on the interstate or non-interstate NHS that are reliable. And then one off for freight movement or travel time reliability index, which only applies to the interstate. Because SKATS is a non-attainment area for carbon monoxide, we have a second set of performance measures that we have to set specific targets for SKATS. The rest, all the other targets we can agree to support ODOT, support transits. These we have to set specifically for ourselves or for the area. The first one is total emission reduction for all CMAQ funded projects in the TIP. The policy committee adopted the 2730 TIP in May. This has projects that will be funded with CMAQ funds. So this target is actually set based on the projects that are receiving CMAQ funds. Percent of non-single occupant vehicle travel and annual hours of peak hour excessive delay per capita. Talk about a little bit more detail. These need to be set for SKATS. And again, we set these every 4 years for 2 and 4 years out. And we can review them at the 2-year period for the 4-year target and change it as necessary. For the transit set of performance measures, under state of good repair, there's quite a few measures. When they say revenue service vehicles, there'll be transit sets a different target based on if it's a 40-foot diesel bus versus a 40-foot battery electric versus a 40-foot CNG compressed natural gas. Each of them have a different target. Actually, it can have a different target, tend to have the same. And so on and so on. So when you get the entire, I think the entire list is, the entire list will be next month when we're reporting all the targets. But Transit District sets these yearly as part of their asset management plan. As an MPO, we only are required to review and support these targets every time we update the long range plan, so every 4 years. Also with transit safety, we also update these transit updates these yearly, but we review them every 4 years. Transit safety performance measures also are similar to the roadway ones in that they're reporting fatalities and injuries, both as a number and a rate. They also are reporting the number of collisions by vehicle, by mode, also collision rates, and a couple new performance measures from IIJ include the transit worker fatality rate and transit injury rate and total number of assaults and rate of assaults on transit. So that's the quick overview of all the target performance measures that are covered in federal regulations. For all these performance measures, except for the peak hour excessive delay and non-single occupant vehicle, MPOs have 2 options. Either establish a target by agreeing to plan and program projects so that they contribute the accomplishment of the relevant DOT, ODOT, or transit district performance measures. Essentially, the policy committee accepts the target that is set by either ODOT or transit district for their performance measures, or we define a target for that measure in consultation with the agency. To date, we have, the policy committee has supported the targets that are set by ODOT or transit districts for all the performance measures that we are not required to set specifically for SKATS. For SKATS, we need to set a target. So because they're air quality related. So Eugene, Springfield, and Salem-Keizer are the only two MPOs in the state that need to set these targets through the air quality regulations. Or one of the nice things, I suppose, is there's no penalty for missing the target, whether we're supporting ODOT or transit district or our own targets. And the flip side, there is no rewards if the targets are met or we do better than targets. So we're setting targets with no real outcome. We also are required to report the results of all these performance measure targets every 4 years. This is Appendix P of the long range plan. You'll see I've drafted that probably next month. Next steps, we need to set a target for the peak hour excessive delay and non-occupant vehicle performance measures by your September 22nd meeting. This is mainly because ODOT needs to send in their targets for everything, all their performance measures before October 1st. They report on our target, so we need to give it to them by that date. And then the next month, we can also discuss whether to agree to support the target set by ODOT for the remaining system performance, safety, bridge, and pavement performance measures, and whether to support the target set by transit district for their state of good repair and safety performance measures. A lot of information. No. On a high end, I see Mel already has a couple questions.
No, I didn't catch the PHED acronym. What was that?
Oh, sorry. Peak hour excessive delay per capita. Annual peak hour excessive delay per capita.
Got it.
Which means just to them off the
How long do I sit in traffic?
But what's more than that? It's the excessive amount. So there's an astute amount of delay. And this is the excessive. But yes, and then you sum it over.
They're measured by the mile?
It is measured, you measure by the road segment, by the number of vehicles, and you sum it up for the year, and then you divide it by the population.
A lot of maths to just say, I sit in traffic for a long time.
No,
But
it's not a fun calculation yet. There's luckily software that does it.
PHED is not relatable. What Commissioner Cameron said is totally relatable. Put it in terms we get.
Yeah. When we talk about we've talked about the congestion management process, and we look at congestion, and that's a base level, but we never talk about the excessive delay. So if you want, I can send you more, the calculations on it, and so you can. But it's beyond. I think you sit in traffic is good enough.
Yeah. I'm satisfied. Thank you.
Sadie.
Thank you, Chairwoman Rose. Several of ODOT's performance measures seem based in numbers, right? Percentage of pavement in interstate, and they are responding to kind of federal benchmarks. Is that correct?
So the start at the top. So percent of pavements that are in good condition and poor. So they set their targets. I think there is a should know these numbers, but ODOT, it says like, we want percent of pavements on the interstate in poor condition to be under 5%.
So they get to say.
Yes, all the targets are set. Everyone, each state can set their own targets
Okay.
based on their own understanding of their system. The
And there is-
feds are just interested that you set a target and then show how you did.
Okay. And there's no penalty for not meeting your target.
There's no
And
penalty. for
likewise, there is no
NPO.
reward
Right.
for meeting or exceeding your target, really putting the performative aspect into the performance measures.
The DOTs have consequences. There are consequences if the DOTs what their safety targets. If they don't make their safety targets, they are required to set 10% of a certain part of their federal funding towards safety related projects. If they allow the interstate to fall below a certain percentage of poor, they're required to put in money, et cetera. So the DOTs have consequences for not meeting their targets. MPOs have currently no consequences of meeting or missing or meeting targets, whether or not we set them or we accept them from somebody else. And I don't recall if transit districts have consequences one way or another. I
would say a fatality is a consequence.
Well, true, but I was thinking more the state of good repair. If your usable lifetime mark, transit has a number of vehicles that are above 12 years. I don't think there's a requirement that says you need to spend money to buy new buses because you probably already going to try to do that.
Oh, yeah, we came here and tried, yeah.
So that's a consequence.
Yeah, so I guess the question for this group, and I don't know that we need to answer it today, is do we set aspirational performance measures about excessive delay and non-single occupant vehicles, or do we just kind of look at the numbers we have and say, see how that goes?
It's somewhat. So as we'll discuss next month, we do have data for these two measures. And what I talked with ODOT, so I actually have a number for you next month. It's 8. 8 hours. So currently our
8
target
hours
is
per
Non-single.
per day.
annual, so annual capita, so
Oh.
it's 8 hours. Currently it's at 7, and the data shows that it's except for 2025, there was not a problem meeting the target. 2025, it's at 7.5. That's using the old boundary. The new boundary, the new SKATS boundary with Amsoil, it's now 7.2. We have more roadway, but it's not as congested.
Thank goodness, where's Amsoil?
She's on the screen. And since Center Street is going to be a project that's going to introduce some sort of delay, I thought, well, we should raise it at least an hour.
Center Street Bridge.
That is
Center Street
Center
Bridge.
Center Street.
Yeah.
Oh, that way. I was thinking,
It's only
I was thinking going
Yeah, no,
west to east.
we're going east to west on that
It would
one.
be a very painful 6 years. Minimum.
So State Street will enter delays too, going from 4 to 2.
Probably not enough to measure, but Center Street is probably the bigger one. It's kind of,
It's temporary, right?
yeah, it's hopefully. Yeah, it's temporary.
Well, unless we have an earthquake,
Right.
then it's permanent.
But, and then, so. And remember, this is excessive, not total delay, so.
In the Center Street, Marion County bridges, already experienced delay, they're about 120% capacity. So we get through this seismic reconstruction of Center Street, what will that level of overcapacity be? So once it gets done, we'll have longer delays even then because of the building going on in West Salem during this same time crunch. So that
Oh, I
delay
see
is
what you're
going to
saying.
grow.
I thought the delay, increase in delay was because of the construction.
That's what I was, yeah.
Yes.
That's what you were referring to.
Yeah, that's why I'm making it more
Okay.
than now.
But the chair just said even after it opens because
It
of
will-
growth
it
and
will
maybe.
still, there will still
Okay.
be delay. Hopefully, after the work is done, then we can get a better sense of what's going on. It's,
I would argue that the delay is the number of single occupancy vehicles.
they're related, yeah.
They are related.
They are related, and that's,
Closely related.
so in our current, so our current target was 7 hours for peak hour excessive delay, and I think 23% for non-single occupant vehicle. Looking at the latest data, that's the percent non-single occupant vehicle travel is actually higher. That's due primarily to COVID and everyone working from home, or not everyone, people working from home more since 2020. And that's coming down. So that's a question of where does this, what will the next 4 years bring for that number? But they are related, but there's not a, it's like this goes up so much and that other one goes down. That relationship hasn't been.
Well, we added Almsville. We just added like how many miles of rural road
Yeah, road that is.
in a city of fewer than
Yeah,
5,000?
we added Amstel and X number of miles of road that have no congestion. It's,
Maybe average better.
but it's all, and this is all NHS, so that's just Highway 22. None of the roads in Amstel count in this measure.
And I would like to point out our parking rides in Polk County are being utilized more and more since COVID. The amount of cars there left every day has probably tripled. We used to get 1 or 2 groups. Now there'll be 10 to 12 cars in those parking lots. And
Not all of them. You? They,
There's one other one in the state, wasn't there?
okay,
got closed. Oh, no.
we're good.
Closed it.
That's all. Amstel.
More information on hold next month.
Next one.
Yeah, the homeless camps have been fun.
Where's the other one?
There one in Holmesville.
Okay, that brings us to item E, amendments for SCAT's future funding year 2024-2025. Yep. Steve.
Okay, sharing screens, there are 2 amendments for review and there's information also included in the packet. And I'll just give an overview of amendment 26-11 and amendment 26-12. So the first one, 26-11, is a project that we've seen before a couple of years ago. It's a railroad crossing on Salem Industrial Drive in Northeast Salem, very close to the Del Webb Operations Center. This was a project that ODOT had funded through their rail division, and when they got further along with their design, they turned out they didn't have enough funding at that time to complete the project. So the construction phase funding was taken away at that point. Now, this amendment is to restore enough funding for the construction phase to start in 2027, or federal fiscal year 2027. It's a little bit under $3 million for the construction phase. And then also the addition of $10,000 for the preliminary engineering kind of final work they need done before they can do construction. The project itself is to, maybe it's easier if I show you on the map here. Yeah, this is the through main line here to the east. There is just a rail spur, which we assume has fairly light rail traffic because it dead ends here at this industrial site here on the southwest corner. Right now, the the arms, so the flashing lights and the arms that come down to stop vehicles from going onto the railroad track. They're here where the yellow circles are, and you'll notice that that's actually inside where the spur is. So there's no crossing guard that comes down on the west side of that spur. It's just covering the main line in this case. So part of this project, I'm just estimating here, I put the green circles in, is to move those. There'll still be 2 points where the rail line crosses Salem Industrial Drive, but they'll be relocated so that the traffic is stopped further back when approaching from the west.
$3 million to move one
There's
rail signal?
Yeah, it's not an inexpensive project. It's there's some paving work that has to happen in the approach. There might be a little bit of realignment in the rail, but it's a rail project, so they tend to be on the more expensive side and often surprisingly expensive. It's also why this got pulled that first time, was just getting through design and that realization that there wasn't enough funding to actually complete construction. So it's a ODOT rail division project. I know the city of Salem is doing some of the paving work in support of the project, but it's by and large, it's an ODOT project to update that crossing there. So that's the first one, amendment. The second amendment, 26-12.
So why, Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
so it has no impact on discretionary funds, so
Yeah, no impact. So they're using ODOT rail division has, I'm not sure.
there's no match needed from anybody.
I believe ODOT's providing all the match. I don't think City of Salem is.
Okay.
Right.
The city of Salem is not providing any match, but we are doing some of the work, the pavement work.
Okay, thank you, sorry.
Can I just ask, how does ODOT prioritize their work and project additions to our project list? It seems, I mean, I very rarely have gone to the US Chef store for a bucket of Nutella. But
How specific?
this road doesn't seem very heavily trafficked. I understand there's a lot of
It is.
industrial
Heavily.
There's Croc Center, Marion.
There's no sidewalks. I mean,
There's not,
yeah.
It's a heavy industrial traveled area. There's a lot of industrial traffic.
And now, and with Marion Polk Food Share, their warehouse is moving.
That's
And
true.
in addition, and when that move happens, they're also moving the production kitchen and all the Meals on Wheels operations from Center 50 Plus to their new warehouse. So all of those Meals on Wheels drivers, like 90 a day, are gonna be going in and out of there as well. Plus you get the Croc Center summer program.
No, they're not coming here.
Like,
Marion Polk Food Share is moving to,
Don Poncho.
yeah, that's not on this road.
It's up off of Brooks.
No,
Don Poncho, the old Don.
it's where, it's,
Don Poncho.
oh, okay.
Oh,
I'm
you're-
thinking of where it's.
it's the old Don Poncho,
Yeah.
and it's up by where Garden used to be. It's in through an industrial or a
It's up the
a
hill.
residential neighborhood is where they're all gonna be going, but not here,
Thank you for the correction.
Yeah.
You're absolutely nice.
but it's heavily traveled. A
Is
lot of industrial traffic.
also in charge of the railroad that runs right down the middle of Front Street, where you're like kind of like traveling from Target with the. I mean, I know that would be more than $3 million to fix.
It's another country that's,
The list?
Yeah,
it's another country that's in charge of that. The railroads are.
right. Yeah.
Yes,
Whole
they're
different set of rules.
the West, how the West was won.
I was just gonna say that, I mean, ODOT Rail coordinates on both of those, but they are the other country.
Yeah.
And the city did receive a grant of almost $3 million for the Front Street one, half of it just to do planning and early design concepts. So yes, it will be a lot more than 300.
Yeah.
I love that train.
It really spices things up.
It moves, that short line moves a lot of stuff.
I'm not trying to beat it down through, there's like.
Extra spicy.
Okay,
Okay.
so amendment 26-12 is Northwest Oregon intersection warning sign upgrades. And right now, the design phase, so preliminary engineering was programmed as part of the next tip and stip cycle. And ODOT is advancing a number of projects into the current federal fiscal year, including this one, because they're trying to obligate funding, so they're able to meet obligation targets. And so this project, which has locations throughout ODOT Region 2, but locations along Highway 99E, Highway 99W, 223 and 213, and both in Marion and Polk counties. This project's being moved up to 2026. So the amendment request here is to just add this project to the current tip and the current stip, so ODOT can get started with the design a little bit earlier than they originally intended. And yeah, like I mentioned, so there's Kings Valley Highway, and there's, I think, 3 different sections on 99W in Polk County. And then in Marion County, Silverton Road has some warning signs that'll be installed, as well as some sections on 99E. And
For the record, I have no idea where Highway 223 intersects with 99W.
well, it's like a project where they will put a number of locations, so it doesn't necessarily have to intersect, but this key number includes locations like in Tillamook County and maybe, I forget what the county in Astoria is in. Clatsop County, yeah, so they list a lot. With this type of project, they'll list a large number of locations and mile markers. So next steps are, we completed the public review period for both of these amendments. They requesting policy committee approval of both resolutions 2611 and 2612. And then ODOT, either the Oregon Transportation Commission or ODOT's administrator is going to approve the amendments here in the next couple of weeks so that these can move forward. And that's all I have. So I just need a motion.
Motion to approve.
Yeah. Exactly.
Well, Mr. Chair, I'll move that we adopt resolution 26-11 and 26-12. That's FFY 24 through 29 Transportation Improvement Program.
Second.
Is it moved and seconded? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any nays? Motion passes. That brings us to item number F, new steps to SKATS MPO member and voting structure. Mike.
Okay, give me a second to share my screen. So I have a presentation, and I've asked Kim to hand out copies of the presentation. Waiting for things to share on the screen. Yeah. So this is a topic we've obviously talked about a lot over the last couple of years. We really haven't talked about it in depth since January 2026. And most of the discussions, the heavy discussions about membership and federal law happened in 2024. So since we have 4 members currently on our committee that weren't around in 2024 to have that. I wanted to review some of the federal law having to do with MPO structures. And then there's a few slides about that. And then there's a few slides about our discussions in 24 and then in January of 2026. And then mostly to talk about next steps. So let me go to my first slide. So it'll be a bit of a refresher about the MPO structure, designations, redesignations. We'll talk about the vote in 2024. We'll talk about our discussion in 2026, and I included that in the packet. There's the PC minutes from that meeting. I've asked Councillor Vang to give the City of Salem's position on the membership and issue, especially for Salem. And then I'd like to, after Councillor Vang has discussed that, get into discussion about next steps, working with the chair and the vice chair and some dates on some work sessions to have a more in-depth discussion about options, all the options that are on the table, pros and cons, people's concerns, and see if we can get consensus or whether we need to hold another vote on an option. And I think this is everyone's goal, is to try to find an option that most people can live with, and then do an amendment to the cooperative agreement that can go out beyond this room and go out to each one of the members so that it gets signed. And that was a concern I had in 2024. Even though we had a vote, I was hearing, well, my jurisdiction won't sign this agreement. So obviously that doesn't get us very far if we have a vote in this room, but it goes out, the amendment goes out and people are not signing it. So okay, so the next several slides, and these are all in your handout, is a refresher about how MPOs are formed. So this is federal law, what you see on the screen. And the first thing is that areas over $50,000 have to create an amendment, or I'm sorry, an agreement, and that's our cooperative agreement. It's between the governor and the units of general purpose local government in the urban area that represent at least 75% of the affected population, including the largest incorporated city, which in our case is Salem. So as long as we have an agreement that covers those items, the two largest city and 75% of the affected population, we can, well, we did have a cooperative agreement to start with, and we should strive to have that same agreement going forward. Now, what are the structure of an MPO? This is also from federal law. It needs to consist of local elected officials, which we have here. It needs to consist of officials of public agencies that administer or operate major modes of transportation, including providers of public transportation. So in our case, we have the transit district, and we also have the school district that operates the buses. We have kids walking to school, things like that. And I'm sorry, I skipped over, and appropriate state officials. That's why ODOT is on our committee as well. There was a change to the federal law in 2021 about representation. So they added this, and you can read it for yourself, but it says in designating officials or representatives under paragraph 2, and that's the paragraph about elected officials and public transportation providers. For the first time, and I highlighted that, et cetera, the MPO shall consider the equitable and proportional representation of the population. So this was a new part of the law. And I think it was meant to say, hey, if you're a new MPO, you should be considering proportional representation. But they put in for the first time, the highlight here, so they're not forcing current MPOs to necessarily follow that when they are amending their membership.
Does it not apply? Would it not be for first time, like additional, like new members? Like, would the first time also apply to incoming new members like Almsville?
No, I think this is
Saying for the
whole-
first time,
This is for the whole MPO as a group.
okay,
So, and Mike, just want to clarify, when you're talking about members, and you mentioned the school district.
Mhm.
The school district was a invited member, they are not a required member. 'Cause
Neither
they're
is
not a
Polk.
Municipality. So they
you
were,
just need Salem-Keizer in the transit district
Correct.
and then somebody from ODOT to show up.
Well, let me correct you. So, yeah, you have to have Salem. The agreement has to specify who else is on the, MPO committee. Has to be transit. So, I've seen reports where there's many configurations of MPOs that have things like, a port, for example, airport or,
Or in Washington State, the tribes.
the tribes. So, there's so many flavors of MPOs. And the reason why the rules aren't very specific is because they want the MPOs and the local governments and the governor to kind of work together and figure out who are the appropriate members or jurisdictions to be on the MPO. Like we have a rather small MPO. We have 8. The average size is more like 16 or 17. I have a slide for that later. So they come in different sizes. Depends how many jurisdictions you have. And as I'll show you later, some may have every city within an MPO. Some have rotating members. Some have a designation for small cities within the MPO. So that's why the federal law is very general, but it's an agreement based on 75% of the population. The jurisdictions that represent 75% of the population. So federal law is kind of general, and I'll have some more slides that explain this.
So, Mr. Chairman,
yes,
little question, Mike.
Yeah.
If it's 75% of the population, I'm looking at this. So Kaiser and Salem could make that up, right?
Yes, they could. Or
Everybody-
Salem and Marion County.
Right. So, but Polk County is here because they're within the SKATS boundary outside the city limits.
Right, they are.
But they don't have to be.
They don't have to be. No.
Okay,
A couple
So-
hundred.
if Kaiser and Salem decided that they wanted to just form their own MPO,
Well, if
then
we were in a world where we could just rip up the current agreement,
Sure.
not saying that it's impossible, but let's say
I wanna go back to
unlikely.
the strategy, to the journal, yeah.
If we were starting afresh, yeah, the parties in the MPO would get together and try to determine what members should be included, right? And back in '87, it was decided to be Salem and Kaiser and the 2 counties, the school district, the transit district, and ODOT. I think I got it. So that's a decision, like I'm saying, the federal law is kind of loose, but it's a
Yeah.
decision by the group. And they could have picked a different configuration.
Could we go back, when was that,
87.
87.
could we go back and pull these same population numbers and the proportion of the populations when we did it in 87?
And
Can somebody get that information?
I don't, well,
Well, because I'm just wondering if the percentage of the populations has changed in representation of the groups.
Well, Turner kind of complicates things because it was added in 2003 without any kind of corresponding update to the. Is it, they weren't added to.
I'll have my staff do it, that's okay.
okay.
Added to the bylaw?
Added to the cooperative. They signed.
Added in 2000, and that was the last time it was updated, but the cooperative agreement, I think also says we're gonna update it every 5 years.
We're gonna review it every 5 years.
Oh.
Yeah, to see if it needs any update.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, I'll go back to, and this is from a 2017 Federal Highway Report on MPOs. They did a big survey and a report. And this is kind of what I've been saying. Actual board composition is not determined by federal law or regulation. Federal law encourages participation by other important stakeholders. So like, we didn't have to have Polk County, I guess, to be in our MPO, but we added Polk County. We didn't have to have, we didn't have to have Turner, actually.
Okay.
They were still in the planning area, but did they have to be on this committee? That was a choice. Same with the school district, that was a choice. Also a choice now, so, yeah. So it's, like I said, it, federal law encourages participation by important stakeholders, such as school districts, military bases, etc., but does not dictate the manner of such participation in such matters as non-voting board membership, the Constitution Advisory Committees, but voting rights of board members. I should have highlighted non-voting board membership. I would know the slide that says there are plenty of boards that have both voting members and non-voting members. So as a result, MPOs in both Oregon and throughout the US are structured with unique and varied compositions. So some of you have seen this before, some of you, this might be new to you. Early in this process, we did a whole survey of all the MPOs in Oregon, and we did some MPOs outside of Oregon just to show other examples. But if you look at these other MPOs, each one is pretty unique. In fact, we're probably the unique one because we have a 1 member per jurisdiction board committee, right? Many of the other ones, like Central Lane, they have 2 members from Eugene, 2 members from Springfield, 2 members from Lane County, and 2 members from LTD, 1 from Colbert, ODOT, and then they have 6 ex officio non-voting members. So Corvallis, as kind of the major city in their MPO, they have 3 votes on their committee, and the other 4 members have 1 vote. So Corvallis doesn't have a, majority of the votes in their MPL, but they have more than anyone else. And Corvallis is 83% of this population. Some have super majority votes if they don't get consensus by a voice vote. Metro is special because they have lots of cities, so they have the Metro councilors. Portland, because of this huge city, has 1 rep, and then they have 1 rep for small cities in each county. So they have the county rep and then the small cities rep, and then they have a variety of other transportation providers: TriMet, ODOT, Port of Portland, DEQ, WashDOT, Vancouver.
Yeah, we don't care about them.
Yeah, we don't care about them.
J-Pact.
Yeah, they call it too.
How many members is it?
17.
Yeah.
17.
That's like crazy.
Yeah, but if they put every city
That's
on,
the only form of government like that in the world.
they are pretty unique.
Mhm.
But if they put every city, let's just put every city on there.
Yes.
Albany is kind of like us. They have 1 vote each for their cities. And, but they also permit a citizen rep, a business rep, a freight stakeholder as voting or non-voting. And I haven't looked to see how they're composed currently as far as those other ones.
How did the populations compare between Albany, Jefferson, Millersburg, and Tangent?
I mean, Albany's the largest city,
Mhm.
right? The other ones, I can't tell you off the top of my head, but they're all smaller cities.
They're all quite small.
Yeah.
Because Albany,
And then we have,
10,000.
50 to 60,000.
Okay.
and then you can see they have the 2 counties as well. Just like we have 2 counties.
I was confusing.
Yeah. And lastly, Bend's also a unique situation where basically the MPO area is Bend for the most part. And then they have, but they have 3 members on the committee, but only 1 vote between them, right? And the other members is Deschutes County and ODOT. So like I said, there's so much variety of possibilities. Ours is very straightforward. 1 member, 1 vote. It's more of a question of who's on and who's off.
Like Albany.
So when you're a brand new MPO, baby MPO, you have to have this agreement between the governor and the units of general purpose local government. That's our agreement. And then there's federal regulations about adding what happens when you want to add a new member. And it specifically talks about when the planning area expands, you want to add a new member, does that require redesignation? So I should have this graphic to kind of describe that. So redesignation, I'm going to focus on the one on the right side, lower right. it's not required if you're just adding members to the MPO that are new general purpose local governments. So Almsville would be that example. Just like Turner, we just added Turner, we didn't have to be redesignated as an MPO. Or if we had a membership where there's periodic rotation among small cities within the MPO, and this turn, one turn is city A and then city B. If we're doing it that way, we wouldn't have to be redesignated as an MPO. Regulations do say that if we are making substantial changes on the proportion of voting members on the existing MPO, then we have to be redesignated as the MPO. And I've asked ODOT, what does that mean when we get redesignated? We have to send our cooperative agreement to the governor, and do they have to show their approval? And I can't get an answer from someone at ODOT because they say, we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. So you guys decide what you want to do, and we'll see if the governor steps in or if the governor has any role. I think they kind of hinted that it would probably just be approved by ODOT, ODOT director or someone in ODOT. Probably unlikely to take it to the governor, but I don't know. So the other one, redesignation might be required if there's a substantial change in decision-making authority or procedures established under the MPO bylaws. So we're going down that road where there's significant changes to the bylaws, then we might have to be redesignated.
And what, bring in one member, 8, is not to me a substantial change.
Well, that's the box on the right. But if we changed how many members Salem got, or if we could completely change things where it's like 2 for Marion County and 2 for Salem and 2 for Keizer, but 1 for Polk and 1 for Turner. So if we went to one of those forms I just showed you on the last slide, that would probably be enough to say that's significant. We'd show it to ODOT, get their feedback on that. Okay, someone brought up the population numbers. So Jim just sent me this. These are the population numbers for all of our general purpose local governments. And this slide includes Almsville because now, close to last time, they are officially in the SKATS boundary. We didn't have an official SKATS boundary approved until I think it was 24. So this is the 2020 census populations, 276,000 people. There's the breakdown. Salem is 63% of the population, Keizer 14, Marion County 19, and the other 3 are relatively small, like 1%, 1.5%. You see in the bottom, just Salem, Keizer, Marion County make up 96% of the population. Okay, so what happened in 2024? We had lots and lots and lots of presentations. I have a huge binder of everything. We have all the minutes, but eventually in 24, the chair made a motion. There was a replacement motion, eventually accepted for votes, and this was the motion to direct SKATS staff to prepare an amendment to the SKATS cooperative agreement that the city of Almsville as a voting member provide an additional voting seat to the city of Salem, and then prepare a cooperative agreement to bring it out. That motion passed 4-3, 1 abstention, which was ODOT. After the meeting, Marion County requested a review of the motion process, believing it didn't follow Robert's rules.
Mike, can you, sorry to interrupt, Chair. Can you remind me who voted, how did the jurisdictions vote on the motion? Who voted under the 4, who voted for the 3?
Yeah, okay. I'm trying to get this right. Staff, correct me if I got this wrong. I believe the 4 that voted for it was City of Salem, Keizer, the school district, and the transit district. And against would be the Marion Polk County and City of Turner.
The county and who?
Turner.
2 counties and City of Turner.
Okay, thank you.
So it really split this committee and half about that stuff.
At some point in time today, can we explain why? Since there's new people here?
Sure.
Okay, great.
I'd love to hear.
Yeah.
And then earlier this year in January 2026, we had a policy committee meeting I was going over the meeting minutes, trying to kind of give you a summary of where people's positions were. So first, the chair asked members to confer with their boards and councils about adding Oswald. We didn't know Salem's position because we had a new member, so we asked Councilor Bang to go back and talk to her fellow councilors. Turner, in this meeting, Turner opposed City of Salem having multiple votes. Transit District was leaning toward weighted votes. Turner and Oswald, there was some discussion of Turner and Oswald alternating as voting members. There was discussion of the school district as a voting member, whether they should still be a voting member or not a voting member. I was asked to go to the board meeting, the school board meeting. I went in May 2024, asked the question. They had a discussion as a board, and they did a report back to me was that they want to remain a voting member on SKATS. Marion County did not want to support an additional vote for Salem. There was some discussion about Spokane's MPO, where they have a larger population. Well, actually, the population is about the same size as ours, but they have more members, for county members, but they have probably about a dozen or 15 members. And they use a mixture of standard voting and weighted voting. Is a certain vote that is more controversial, and there's a call for a weighted vote. There's a whole procedures in the bylaws about having weighted votes. So, and then they're not the only example that has weighted votes. So, and then City of Keizer's position was to change to not supporting a second vote for Salem.
I don't recall that discussion happening in a meeting.
In January.
In January, yeah. So the meeting minutes is in the packet.
I think Polk
In
County.
the very end, I think it's the very end of that. This is an order of what.
For the record, Polk County also stated they would not sign that agreement.
Yeah. So I had some other slides. I think we're going to skip that for most purposes of time. Has some information about non-voting voter seats. What's the average size of boards? Like I said, they're more like 15 or so. And 24% of MPOs have rotating seats, and 30% have waiting.
Rotating seats, meaning somebody gets a vote, next year somebody else gets a vote.
I'd have to do some more research because this information is like 3 years ago that
We turn them out and then our replacement comes on. So we rotate into whoever our new serving officer.
Well, I'm not sure, Chair. I think it might, I'd have to look.
Okay.
I think it's more of, there's a designation of like a small city in the county.
And they
And
rotate.
so it could be this person. It's not just a replacement, like someone else comes on. So,
And Mike, just in terms of how the current MPO structure informs the technical advisory committee, what I found in my notes was that if I have this right, all of the jurisdictions are represented by 2 TAC members, and the transit district has 1 member, maybe ODOT has 1 member on the TAC.
right. And then we have DEQ as a TAC member. DOCDC TAC member, they'll be rarely ever.
Mhm.
And we have bylaws for the TAC, just like we have bylaws for the.
And that's to land use and transportation is the split. That's why the counties and cities have 2.
I see.
And
Yeah.
ODOT has a second place, but they don't have a person to fill it.
Got it. Okay.
So, yeah, and this was a slide about non-voting board members. 147 MPOs have non-voting board members, so it's about half all the MPOs in the state in the US. So I think that's all my slides. I'll just go back to the packet and see what's in the packet. I included some options for adding Onslow and representation for Salem that we looked at early 2024. That's not to say that's all the options. That was just focused on Amsville and Salem with the second vote. So that was kind of combinations of what could happen there. Kim put together a timeline and summary of kind of all the discussions we had all those months. Like I just said, I put the January 2026 minutes, so you can read them about 6 months ago. The slide kind of covers the essence of it, but you can read the minutes for yourself. And then the federal statutes and regulations, the first 3 or 4 slides that I had, that's all put down and copied for your information. If you want to read in detail about structure or designation or redesignation, it's all in there. So I know as staff, we want to try to move forward. And one thing was to bring everyone up to speed as we can here today about where we've been, the regulations are, and now where we want to move forward. And as the transportation director, I'd like to see this resolved before I retire, which is next year. And this has been a very, divisive topic with legitimate concerns on both sides. And those have been expressed in meetings like that. What I think we need to do is have some focused meetings on this topic to see if we can come up with options, like I said at the beginning, 1 or more options that people can together support and pick one option of that small set. It may take a while. It may take several 1-hour meetings. I don't know how long it's going to take. But I think I don't want it as part of this meeting. I want to separate it out. So have it separate work sessions. We're just talking about the issues without any votes, without any motions. Let's just get it out there, talk about the options to see if we can get some compromises or consensus on something that works. And I've given you all these models, of what other MPOs go. So there are lots of choices. So one part of this part is, are we just going to limit it to Salem on second vote and Amsoil on the board, or do we want to open it up some more and say, hey, we can choose something else? And I know, Chair, you brought up something else, which is the school board still being on the as a member. So there are more than those 2 options of Amsoil and Salem. We can look at other things, but the goal is to get some consensus. And I think it's better to do it focused meetings. I'd like to work with the chair and the vice chair to kind of set that up as far as dates and what's going to be on like the first couple meetings and any outside help we need. And so with that, I'm going to stop my presentation and after questions and give it back to the chair.
I'm gonna, Mr. Cameron, you want to express thoughts how we got here and what happened back
Just
in the day to catch up?
it's one thing to see a 4-3. It's another thing to understand the real discussion of what happened, and why people may have voted the way they did. And there's a history here. In fact, it goes back to I guess the last time we brought in Turner. We brought in Turner and gave him a vote and kept going. In 1987, there's a history here where I'm sure Salem at that time had much more population than anybody else here. And everybody had 1 vote, and I actually got the last 10 years of the projects and went to the mayor of Salem at the time and said, Mr. Mayor, what are you not getting here that you need? He says, well, I'll get back to you. And he never could say anything about what Salem wasn't getting, that they needed another vote. And I never understood why they needed another vote, because this group has always thought regionally. And I say that because I am the one elected official here that represents probably 200,000 out of that 271. I don't know how many citizens are on West Salem side of the city of Salem.
35,000, 36,000 now.
Okay, plus yours. So I represent, I'm not sitting here thinking that I only represent the people that are outside SKAT's boundary. I'm thinking when we do a State Street project, and Mayor Hoy and I worked on that together, Center Street, when we're doing those things, we're thinking, how do our citizens interact with each other and move forward? And I know we have over the years found ways to complete projects, whether it was in Salem or whether it was in Marion County or whether it was in Keizer. We would sit here and go, okay, we need to get that money over there to get that project done. This is a regional thing. There was no and it's been that way before us, sitting around this table, our predecessors. I know there was one situation where a member walked out because he didn't want to have to vote and he knew the vote was gonna pass that way. That's fine if that happens, but this group has worked together forever. And I don't see any reason why we should not. That was the whole point, why we should not just add Turner, or Almsville. And even Almsville and Turner said, hey, we'll alternate votes. Because as a county commissioner, and she's here from Almsville on here, I'm gonna be thinking about Almsville as much as I'm gonna be thinking about East Salem, wherever this area is. I drive these roads, everybody drives these roads. Not everybody rides the bus, but people who ride the bus. And it's in Marion County as well as in the city limits. So I just say that this group has worked together, and for some reason there was a new bent that came at us from the city of Salem saying we're not getting represented, and they couldn't come back and say we're not getting what we should be getting from this group. This group has been one to take care of this region, and I just think it was too divisive to change the direction we've been going, and that's why Marion County voted no. No emotion, Mike. No passion, no emotion.
Well, Ken was on the same wavelength. When these 8 started, there was 8 equal votes. There wasn't any discussion about anything else. Diversity, equity, inclusion, you have to protect the smaller groups and not let the big ones run over them. And these small communities, if we don't give them equal vote difference, equal representation in something they got thrown into, neither one of them asked to be here. The federal government forced them to be here. So they need to have the equal vote to represent themselves as well. So Almsville was a small town, and it gives small town funding. When they got thrown into here, they lost that. Now they're an urban metropolitan area. And it's just not fair to them to not give them equal vote to stand up and let their voices be heard. And that's the whole basis of this whole thing. Yes, Sadie.
Thank you, Chair. I think if we are giving equal votes and we're talking about equal votes, then we should give equal votes, because right now Turner's voice is 56 times louder than Salem's based on population.
There's only one entity that's going to collect, and that's Turner. The only person standing up for Turner is Turner. The only person standing up for Salem is my van here. Now, their boards can come and they can lobby for more money, but as you look at how that money has been dispersed over the last 20 years, it is exactly equitable by population.
Marion County has received lion's share
Of what?
of funding for projects. We saw that slide.
Can you bring that up?
I'll just say one thing while Steve's bringing that up.
Yes.
So
Oh, sorry.
regardless of who's received, and I took it to the mayor of Salem and said, whatever you're not getting there, what are we getting? This group is making those decisions. It's not Marion County. This group is making those decisions, and it's about the region. Chariots has gotten buses. They get all these things. That you didn't get everything you wanted. I get that, Sadie. But this is more than just a transportation group. Public transportation group. This is people driving cars and walking on sidewalks and driving bikes too. So those are the things that are considered when we make those decisions. So I don't know that we're getting most of the money. We're getting some projects, but if you go back through the history, we have been sharing projects amongst this group.
So it's 19% of the population.
Yeah. Do you guys want me to, is that hard to see? I'm making it as big as I can. I can.
Let's remind us what the years.
And
How many
everything.
years?
This is a period of 24 years between 2003 and 2027. It does not include the TIP projects that we just approved in May, because this document was made back in January. And since the TIP hadn't been approved at that point, but yeah, the first couple columns give the breakdown of the 2020 population. Then the regional road system mileage, so your arterials, larger, busier roads, not the local streets in every jurisdiction. And then the funds that had obligated during that time or were programmed to obligate through 2027. And then the last column is the number of total projects that each jurisdiction took on.
Inside the SKATS boundary, correct?
Inside the SKATS boundary, only SKATS funding, so only the regional discretionary funds. So for example, like ODOT has one project on here, and they've done many other projects that have been funded with ODOT funds that they administer from the federal government. So this is specific to when we develop our TIP, the programs that we're making decisions on. And so there's relationship, they're not perfectly one-to-one relationships, the way I describe them. It also gets fairly complicated in terms of jurisdictional boundaries, especially in the eastern part of Salem, where there's Marion County roads mixed in with City of Salem roads. There's people who live in those communities who are.
How much of that would be Lancaster, that Marion County has jurisdiction, right? So you can't just look at the numbers, because everybody in the city of Salem, if they go to Lancaster, they're gonna drive on that road. There's a lot of improvements that have been done. So Sadie, if you're gonna go, that's why I asked the mayor, what are you not getting?
Which mayor did you ask?
Chris Hoy.
Okay,
This is before we got into this discussion. I took him the spreadsheet and said, here's the projects. What are you not getting that you need another vote to get? I mean, this group has approved all those projects up there. This group has done that unanimously.
And I would love to see what those program obligations represent in total dollars we brought into this community and what those relate to. That's just matching funds in our pool that brought federal funds in.
This is specific to the federal funds, so it doesn't include match dollars or doesn't include like a project that might have a federal grant for the direct federal grant, as well as a SKATS funded portion of it. So it wouldn't include all of that.
Can I need to make a correction that was said about 10 minutes ago. So Oswald was brought into the MPO, right? And so they're in our MPO area. They're now eligible for MPOs, but that does not make them ineligible for the small city allotment. In fact, they just got a small city allotment. I just got an email about it last week. They got $250,000, like everyone in this list of 50 people. So they're still eligible for that small city allotment.
Good.
Okay. You, Chair.
Thank you.
Chair, with the
Yes.
here, and I want to get to my bang at some
Yeah.
point.
oh, I'm sorry.
Nope, go ahead.
So I just want to ask a question kind of in preparation for the work session or the meeting that we're going to have about this. I came into this group. I wasn't here when the conversation you're having before. I want to understand why it is you don't want the school district to be have a voting member. Because 2 years ago, they said they still wanted to be. And I mean, I just don't understand the reasons why you don't. I don't know what they are. So to help me understand this so that I can advocate.
I never said that. I just said I wanted to add just Turner and just move on, keep going.
But
I didn't want to take away a school district.
But, okay, I didn't say that I didn't say anyone said it. Let me back up then. It is on here that it's been brought up as an option to remove. So much so is that you've gone to the school district and asked them if they still want to be there. So what is the purpose of, what is the district not bringing to this group that?
Well, it's not the matter the district is not bringing something, because we want you here. And we want you lobbying for safe routes to school. No, we do. No, hear out the story.
Okay.
So one of the challenges that Salem did was they're adding a vote and it's gonna water down the votes. The school district is not a required seat on the table, but you were invited.
There's Polk County.
So Polk County is one of the original groups that set up and they invited the school district.
Still not
It's a
required.
municipality.
So the school
I'm just-
district is part of the original group.
Yeah, you're part of that
Just
too.
like Polk County.
Right.
The school district is not required.
Just we're in the municipality representing the people, and that's why Polk County was invited to be part of it and stuff. But if we were looking at ways that we could bring Almsville in and not increase the votes. So we asked the school district, would you give up your votes to be a contributing member, just a non-voting member, just like many of the other MPOs have. And your vote would be given to Almsville. So we'd move on with just 8 votes. We wouldn't increase that voting. So would that appease, say, the city of Salem? That's how they came around. So you would-
I just don't understand how taking votes away, taking a vote from someone and giving it to someone else. When we're all voting on the same thing, we're all part of the same entity, how that changes
Yeah,
anything.
we don't need to do that.
we don't need to do that. We were just
need
trying to
add-
find answers.
Just need to add Almsville and move on.
That
That's all we.
we
need to
all
do.
said just add
Or-
Almsville.
Or
We were
rotate
trying-
Almsville and Turner and move on. It was the whole issue was the city of Salem wanting a second vote. Cause you have a vote, they have a vote, and city of Salem.
I'm
has
not
a
the
vote.
city of Salem.
No, I said, school district has a vote, they have a vote, Salem has a vote. Right? That's all we were saying. Just keep going the way we were going, because we've unanimously done all these projects. And Salem came in and said, no, we want more power. We want more votes.
Are they still saying that?
We don't know yet.
We don't know.
We don't know. I haven't heard.
This is just so confusing to me. I don't. Okay. I guess as long as the question continues to be asked, we will be continuing to try to find an answer to it until someone's satisfied or stops asking the question. So.
I can
figure
say,
it out.
that staff did a whole paper
Mhm.
about how the school district was for many years part of something earlier before SKATS.
Mhm.
There was a Salem area kind of coordinating committee, and the school district being a major entity in this area was part of that. So some of that history had to do with why they were added as one of the original 7 members of SKATS.
Okay.
So you can dig up that paper if you want.
And Mike.
Thank you. I think that's a
Thank you,
good
Brittany.
segue to the city of Salem.
Alright.
All right, so I appreciate the discussion and it's definitely got a little heated, but I agree with Mel that votes should not be taken away from any of the jurisdictions sitting at the table. I also agree that I think Almsville should be part of the conversation, should be at the table with us. And when I am thinking about my role on this committee and my role as counselor back in Salem, I truly believe that the motion that was brought in March of 2024, I don't view it as a power play for more power in this committee. I view it as giving Salem a more clear or more accurate representation at this committee, because we do represent such a large population that representation cannot be fairly or justly represented in just one person. And I do think that it needs 2 members from Salem, 2 voting members to accurately reflect that. With that said, my understanding after the presentation from SKATS staff, thank you, Jeff, it was very detailed. After I look at the timeline and how the votes were cast and really what is really holding up us from moving forward. I think that the substitute motion for Salem having 2 votes and Almsville having 1 vote is a compromise with all of the issues that's been raised today. It allows Salem to have a more accurate representation of the population that we represent. It also allows Almsville that seat at the table, that voting seat at the table, and allows all of us to still have a voice and be able to kind of work together for prioritizing projects. And so when I think about what is going on and whatever has happened in the past, it's in the past for a reason, and I want to move forward positively. And so with that said, because the chair brought the motion in January and wants to move forward with it positively, I want to move forward with the Salem 2 vote, Almsville 1 vote, and have SKATS staff implement and draft up that cooperative agreement. Because I just think that is how we are going to resolve this issue. Something that Chair, you said at the very beginning was trying to make Almsville whole. And I think that by moving forward on the motion as is going to make Almsville whole. And there's a long history of cooperation with the jurisdictions. I don't see that changing. And so adding the second vote for Salem just allows that better representation and for such a larger population. So that is Salem's position on the motion and on the issue. I did discuss it with city staff, and we did email out to the rest of council. And as far as I know, nobody has brought or like raised questions or had a different opinion from what I've presented to them. And so that's what I am presenting today to the policy committee and to you all to answer the question of what does Salem want to do?
Yeah.
I am open for further discussion for, like whatnot, but I do think this is how we resolve this issue. And
So with that direction, we can take it back to our boards. You can take it back to your board.
Mine's already done, so.
What?
I said mine's already done. Everybody go.
Oh, yeah, I know what my board's gonna say, so they're gonna have to replace me probably if you want some different answer, because my board's not gonna go there.
We understood from the two of you, your positions on it, but Keizer changed can you explain why Keizer changed their mind?
Because none of the other city councilors agreed with the one that voted.
None of the city councilors agreed with the one that voted.
did the rest of the counselors explain why, or can you share that with
Yeah, we
the?
just felt that it wasn't needed because of the way things had been running. We just felt to keep it the way it had been going. At Elmsville and move on.
Keizer didn't like the way their representative at SKATS at the time voted?
Yeah, our SKATS representative.
Okay,
The
so,
way they voted.
okay, so all you had to do was change the number that showed up, and I don't understand how that's tied to.
Well, that's why I'm here. I'm a
Okay.
new member that was changed, so our vote is now changed.
Okay, that makes,
So,
I
yeah,
understand that.
so the city council didn't agree with the vote that was cast.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
I think the transit district would like to dive pretty deep on this and explore things like weighted voting and rotating positions.
I think we should vote before we spend all that effort.
On a facilitator or?
No, I mean, you're gonna ask them to do a lot of work and there may not be a vote to make any of that happen.
What if the members change again?
Yeah.
Or I don't think that'll happen anytime soon.
So we have future discussion.
And Chair, I kind of expected to be here. And that's why I'm sort of advocating that we look for other options that satisfy.
So then what happens to the motion in 2024 that was passed?
Well, we could go forward with it. However, I heard from several members that if they got a cooperative agreement that added second vote for Salem plus adding Almsville, they would not sign the agreement.
So it's not the city of Salem who's holding up, making Almsville whole. It's not school district keeping Almsville from being whole. It's not transit keeping Almsville from being whole. it's other jurisdictions keeping
Well,
Lawrenceville from me.
The group is all, the group is.
Yeah.
As a,
I,
as a.
I'm a little hesitant to say who said
So
that.
it's a rhetorical question because
Okay.
yes, it's just a rhetorical
Okay,
question.
good.
Did not mean to put you on the spot, Mike. I apologize.
Okay, so let's move on.
So Chair,
Go ahead.
I guess the question is staff. It's my recommendation to have some work sessions. Maybe we can resolve this. But this is up to you as a group. If you want to have work sessions, you try to resolve this, look at other options. The rotating members that Commissioner Cameron keeps talking or mentioning, that was mentioned a little bit in January, might be a good solution to add to the mix. And might be a good compromise, and we can look at other positions that might work. But I think we need to have it outside of an official meeting. It's not still voting, just discuss these options. But you know, this is your committee. This is for your process to figure out how you want to vote.
And those meetings, of course, would be public, right?
They would be open to the public.
Then if we're going to look for alternative solution and consider a rotation, I think that Sadie brings up another good solution that we should explore, which is weighted votes. Because if the policy committee is not going to move forward on the original motion that was passed, and now we're going to open the door up for these other alternative solutions, then weighted votes should be part of that discussion. So if we're gonna, at our next meeting or, you know, the next mediation or whatnot, that should be discussed too then.
That's why I want to work with like the chair and the vice chair, kind of say, okay, what options?
How do you weight curious? By population?
We could look at. We could look at how other jurisdictions have done it.
Is that by ridership or by citizens?
I
Yeah,
think
a weighted vote doesn't have to be by population, it just has to have a weight behind it, so you can come up with anything you want, you know, make it up in the air, like Salem has 10 and Trans District has 3 and county has 6, you know, you can make up these weights. It doesn't have to be necessarily tied to a population, because obviously we don't have a population. We have a population in the service district, but do you want to use that? We could use that, so, yeah.
So what is it that the people, the group, what is it that you asked the mayor, what are you not getting? So I want to ask you, what are you not getting?
Marion County has been perfectly satisfied with how we've been moving forward with this group, because we've all worked together. And this, I know you haven't been here very long, but if you can see how this process works, it is like, there's a project, Julie's got a project over here in Salem. We need to move some money over here to get it to complete. We go through a process of, you know, that's one thing. We go through a process of analyzing all the projects that people submit. They get rated, they come out.
And
Right, so all that is
disregard
happening.
our selection criteria
What's that?
and pick the projects that we want.
What's that?
I said, then we disregard the selection criteria that the TAC used to evaluate the projects and just pick the ones.
That's your
off the
opinion.
list.
Yeah, that's your opinion.
Isn't that what happened?
I don't think so.
No, because the TAC went with, along with all of our our recommendations on the form.
Yeah,
So,
and we made sure that there was jurisdictions.
Make the decision we do,
we
Chair.
did,
We did make the decision, but
They,
the tax
they
recommendation.
requested
I'm not gonna-
evaluation and we dispatched with it.
anyways,
Ignored it.
one person thinks we didn't do it right, okay?
are you,
So-
are you talking to me now?
No, I'm talking Sadie.
Oh, okay.
So my point being is this group has worked really well together as it's been laid out. So I'm not saying I didn't get anything. I'm not complaining, but I don't think we need to change the direction we've been going, because it's been a really good direction. And ever since this 2 votes has come into this room, it has changed. It's been divisive. It wasn't divisive before.
Yes, we would call things differently.
Hmm?
I think that before Almsville was added, there were disagreements among this group, despite the longstanding sort of representation of everybody thinking together and getting along and moving in the same direction.
Of course.
That there
Of
were
course.
differences.
There's always debate, sure.
So, I mean, us as staff still looking for what you want us to do next.
At this time, I'm not sure. It looks like there's gonna be a basic wall here, unfortunately,
A what?
and a wall.
A wall?
Yeah, between what we feel and what you feel. And it's gonna take Sadie and I and Mike to sit down, we can have discussions, bring back ideas. I mean, open to thoughts. You guys have things, share them, throw them out to the group. Maybe we can come up with something, but
So that's what we've been doing. And you just call this a wall.
That's
simple description. So difference of opinion instead of a wall. Difference of opinion. We all feel that there's no reason to change because it's so equitable. And you look at the funding coming and how it's been dispersed. If anybody should be upset, it would be me. That $500,000 Polk County was given wasn't Polk County, it was an ODOT project that we lobbied to get them the 500,000 for a project that never ever came to fruition. So that should be a zero behind Polk County. We never complain because we're here representing our 90,000 people that come to Salem because Salem is the economic driving engine of our region. And we want Salem to be successful. We want our constituents to be able to get to their work and get home safely. Or to pass through Salem in a reasonable amount of time. We're looking at safety overall for everybody and equity for everybody. And that's the way it's been since I've been here. This group, how we came together when we were funded short on funds and lobbied for funds to give projects, or projects when COVID prices were exacerbating costs. It was ridiculous. Yeah, but we took our own projects, put them on hold to finish the projects that we started. And that's what it's all about. Working as a team and as one for one goal for our region. And that's what Kevin was trying to explain as well. I think he did a great job. That's what we want to focus. One group, one vote. That's how it should be, regardless of size, population. If you wouldn't have been getting, if Salem wouldn't have got the funding equitable to what they have, I can understand the disagreement. But when you get to weighted votes, then in small communities will never get anything done because they don't have a voice. You just diminished it. And that's what the whole thing is about, is having equitable voice for your entity. We're all equal, maybe not in population. Rural, urban, Keizer, Salem.
Up to me.
So
It's not,
it's one region.
because if you go to Target on Center Street, you're in the county. If you go across the street to the mall, you're in the city. You're driving roads that I think about, that I represent everybody, whether they're on a bicycle, a car, or whatever in those areas. I don't represent anybody west of the river. But I do think about it when we have a project. If there's a project over in West Salem, because our citizens that work over here drive those bridges, they drive those roads. So we ought to all be thinking on those pictures as we look at this region. Sorry.
You say,
Thank you, Chair. I think it would be equally possible for others to come to the committee with the same spirit of generosity and regional thinking that you do, Commissioner Cameron. I think that we could increase the number of voting seats for Salem in particular and expect the same kind of a magnanimous attitude.
They already do. Well, so why change?
Because I think more voices in the room and equitable representation for the largest jurisdiction in this NDO makes a lot of sense.
More people can come, they just won't vote.
But why though? If at the end of the day, we all agree that we want the projects to be equitably dispersed among all the jurisdictions at this table. Why are the no votes so against Salem having 2 votes. And the only real reason I've been hearing is, we don't like it. It's not what we've done in the past. Why change it? I'm not hearing, oh, it's because Salem is going to diminish the small cities or the smaller towns and their ability to get projects. Like, that's not what I'm hearing. And so to me, as I'm sitting in this room and I'm looking at this motion in front of us, I just don't understand why it cannot move forward. Like, as is, because it does what you no votes want it to, which is give Almsville a 1 vote. And it allows Salem to have more actual representation and more accurate representation for our larger population. So like, as I'm thinking through this, that's what I'm getting from this conversation. And it goes back to my rhetorical question. Salem is ready to move forward with this motion. Sounds like the school district and transit are ready to move forward with this motion. But there's just something about this motion that is preventing the other jurisdictions to come on board. And the reasons I'm hearing the no, is because we just don't like it.
So what I'm willing to do is I'll take your motion back to my board. And I'll give you the answer next month.
I appreciate
Yeah,
that.
I'll
Thank you.
lay it out to them, just like, so Salem, we come in 2 votes, Almsville would come in with 1. We would all maintain 1.
That's,
So the only difference is you would gain a vote and Almsville would come in with 1. That'll be the only difference that we currently have now. Correct? So Almsville would go to 2 votes and Almsville would come in with 1 whole vote.
no, Salem goes to 2, Almsville is 1. Yeah,
Yes,
sorry.
thank you. Thanks for clarifying. Yeah. I'm willing to take that to my committee.
Oh, I'll take it. Yeah. I would also say that, you said there's 3 of you right here? No, I'm just saying.
Give us 3 in a row.
School,
Yeah.
Salem School District Chariots.
Right.
Think about that group and what they represent population wise, right? And the votes, right? And then Salem has 2 votes. Now you have 4 votes in an area that is pretty much in line with each other on things, okay? Especially on this.
In line geographically or politically?
Geographically,
Okay.
right?
Well,
Chariots goes outside the city limits, so does the school district. The school district doesn't have any projects on this list.
you're right, we don't.
Right, you don't have any projects on the list. So it's just one of those things. It's when you talk about representation, there is a geographic representation of 3 votes right here that's pretty solid.
But we're in Marion County too, and Polk County, so you have 2 and you have 2 and Keizer has 2 or 3,
We start layering.
right?
Yeah.
I was just giving you another reason for why we just keep it at 1 apiece.
I just want to say, I don't think I've once indicated how I would vote on this motion, but it seems very much assumed how I will. When you talked about Chair Moorhurst, a wall. So I'm not, that's just an observation that I had.
Yeah.
I seem to have been grouped and I'll.
Sorry.
No,
It's not you, it's just the fact, I think the fact is that the school district went that direction when the vote came up.
Got it.
That's it.
Okay. That makes sense.
Could you also come back with clarity from the commission on whether or not they would be willing to sign the cooperative agreement?
Well, that's what'll have to be on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Commissioner Morehouse and
Yes.
Commissioner.
I know what their response is. They haven't seen it, so
Yeah, they'll have
they
to see.
say I have to see it.
I can tell them, if this is on there, would you be willing to sign this agreement?
Oh, I thought that was a stumbling block.
Well, it's just like Salem said, if we didn't give them the same vote, they would never sign the agreement. That's what,
Okay,
yeah,
I gotta
is
go.
that in the
Never
minute?
mind.
We didn't finish the agenda.
No, we didn't finish the agenda. So what I'm hearing is, there's still a lot of division. And I'd like to have this as a work session. I'd like to bring some people in. I'd like to work with the chair, the vice chair. So that, like I said before, there are more options out there. The discussion in the last 10 minutes is focused on this current option, which Commissioner Banks says is the Salem's position. But if you're willing to have an open mind, I think there's other options that can be considered. But in a work session type, and I will bring in extra people as I need to. But I'll work with the chair and the vice chair to set that up. Is that agreeable to everyone?
Well, let's see where we are after next month.
After next month?
Let's take this back to our boards, and
Okay.
then next month we can.
I think
Okay.
you probably should go that direction.
I
I
agree.
think, yeah, you ought to do what you just said, Mike,
I
because
agree.
I think I know what the response I'm gonna get, but maybe my board changes their mind.
Okay, so,
They may say, okay, do it, right? Two versus one that Salem just presented. I don't know
Well,
what they're
it's-
gonna do, but I think you
Yeah.
should have an alternative moving forward. Mr.
Okay.
Chair, that would be my,
I'm good with that too. Everybody good with that?
Yes, I would
Yes.
recommend that staff move
Okay.
forward.
I will move forward and members will go back to their boards, get more input on their full boards, viewpoints. But we'll also move forward with setting up some work session. And I will set up a meeting with Sadie and Lyle to start talking about. Good?
It's good.
Thank you very much.
All right.
I gotta
You're right. Thank you. Service transportation authorization letter of support, Steve.
Yeah, I'm just getting a contingency plan for, that would go with that. So, would you get to the August folder and pull up things? Sorry, not August, yeah, it's July. Okay, so I have just a couple slides. I'll do them really quickly. But basically what this agenda item is a consideration. Last month, I talked a little bit about surface transportation reauthorization. There's both the Basics Act, which is a marker bill that the Association of NPOs in DC had floated with some of their partners that is like the National Association of Counties, National Association of Regional Councils, U.S. Conference of Mayors, collectively floated this Basics Act of suggestions for what would be included in the surface transportation reauthorization. As we know, Congress is talking about reauthorization right now, and what that means with the current authorization, the Infrastructure and Investment and Jobs Act expires at the end of this month. And basically what we have is just a letter of support for concepts that were included in the Basics Act. There's also now a Build America 250 Act proposal that's been in the House Transportation and Infrastructure Committee. Not sure what the status is going to be. It's very likely there's going to be an extension on the current reauthorization. Anyway, I'll be done in 2 minutes. What the letter includes is it builds off a template from the AMPO and the Oregon MPO consortium. And we just adapted that with some specific examples from Salem-Keizer area. And it identifies some of the priorities that were included in the Basics Act and asks our Oregon congressional delegation to include some of those priorities and whatever ends up being the final reauthorization, because I think it has still a long way to go. We're just hearing that now is a good time to provide input from a regional perspective. So the 5 priorities that are outlined in the letter are things like delivering regional priorities faster through, and the way that would be done is through the increase in our surface transportation block grant funding, which is our most flexible federal funding source. Focus on road safety through an increase to the Highway Safety Improvement Program, and an element that would suballocate 25% of that funds to regional and local governments. Invest in repairing locally owned bridges through continuation and an increase to the bridge, the federal discretion, or not discretionary, federal formula bridge program, along with a sub-allocation of 25% to local and regional jurisdictions. And then things like strengthening our regional planning through increases in our PL funding for MPO support and a decrease in the match requirement. Well, I won't go over any of the other slides. And I'll just stop there. And the question is just if the group feels like they want to submit a letter of support, which is included in the packet to the national delegation.
Thanks, Andy.
And this isn't limited to just our bigger roads. This is all local roads.
Good question. It's I guess in some ways it is, because typically that's where federal funding would land. We don't, the federal funds don't typically
Okay.
fund something on local roadways.
Yeah, that's what I was,
Yeah.
so I'm just thinking about the safety aspect of it, in part because, some of the terrible sidewalk stretches in,
Yeah.
Salem, my son wrecked his scooter and broke both his arms last weekend. Yeah. So he's at my parents' house right now so that I could come to this meeting. Can't do much else. We're feeding him and opening doors for him and buckling his safety belt, helping him go to the bathroom. So road safety, sidewalk safety,
Yeah,
if that.
that is top of mind. Yeah.
Some federal funds can be used for safety projects on local streets, depending.
Yeah, a
There-
lot of the
there-
neighborhood
there are
association
caveats.
meetings I've been to
Sidewalk
would be in
safety.
support of increasing our sidewalk safety.
There's safety funding carved into this. Small amount, but there's some.
So that highway safety improvement program, largely well, I don't actually know if I should say largely. Some of that funding is ODOT administers through the All Roads Transportation Safety Program that they run at the state level, and invest in their roadways, as well as award grants to jurisdictions like City of Salem. Pretty consistently gets 2-3 projects every cycle. And then locally, the Surface Transportation Block Grant Program, that is very flexible, and that's something that we do often invest in sidewalk and other safety projects. This isn't going to be something that's going to cover everything and be the only solution, but I think it, our sort of wording and position here is that we support increased funding that could be used on those types of projects.
NODOT can use a little shot in the arm right now. All of it's good. So I totally support this.
I do as well.
All good to go?
I think so.
I'll get a copy and for you to sign after.
I'll do
Yeah.
it before I leave.
Okay, perfect. Thanks.
Somebody came on, Steve, keep going.
There's just one on there, and it was an administrative amendment that switched like 2 words, transit entry, because Peggy Green, who's the grant administrator, wanted to be really careful that FTA would accept all the activities, and it had to do with some software purchase that they were doing. So it was a very hyper specific amendment in this case. So just making sure all the T's and I's are dotted or crossed, and
Zero changes until you get to the modification.
yeah, exactly. So that's been approved and has already been changed in the STIP system.
All right. My next policy meeting in August 25th, 2026. TAC meeting's August 11th, so talk to your TAC people. I did not make it to UMPOC. I don't think we had a representation there this month.
No, I don't know when the exact meeting is. I think it's still to be determined.
Well, the one was last month. That was the last week of.
5th or 26th, because it was a conflict with our.
Yeah, I gave an update at the prior Pulse Committee meeting. It's in the minutes.
Yeah. All right. OTC is July 31st, special meeting virtual.
It's actually canceled.
It's canceled.
It's
That's right.
No longer
I saw
showing up
that.
on their website.
Yeah, I saw that. Didn't say quit. So August 12th and 13th, Cape Falls, but it'd be virtual as well, so you don't have to make that long rush. The rates in the story December back in Salem. You've never been to one, it's very interesting. I recommend you go and sit in one or watch it. It's always good stuff about what's going around the state. And on the big major projects, they always have updates. So the I-5 bridge and I-5 corridor is really interesting to listen to. How the numbers change so drastically.
Yeah, I do.
Just unbelievable. And then transportation planning update. Table below. You want to comment on that? You guys still watch it all along?
Yep, more on this will be in future meetings.
All right. Okay. And in closing, I'd just like to tell all of you, thank you for the frank conversation.
You.
It's never fun. And it's always tough getting through these difficult things, but keep conversation going. And I know sometimes my word descriptions are not always easy accurate, according to some, and others it is. I've just always been a very simple person, so I'll call division. It's never anything personal.
I've spent maybe 5 hours with you in person in a room. So as we work together and I learn that and your style and how you communicate, that will become more clear. So thank you for explaining.
Thank you. And with that, being adjourned.